Hello, everybody.
There's Miss Nicole. How are you doing? Nicole, Nicole was sweet. She says, I miss y'all's voices. Oh, she's so nice.
Well, we miss her too.
Yeah,
we miss so many of you guys out there. All right, Rick Moore, take 3. Yeah, it's the topic that we're talking about. It's exactly the topic. Because this is very sensitive topic.
To them, it's sensitive to them. I mean, and it's important to us that we know these things.
Mark J in the house. How are things in Kansas? Digital Soldiers, good to see you. Kevin Bell, third in line. Hey there, Sharon. Lady Yolanda in the house. Paul Zink.
Good to see you. Truth or Nothing. Science Nerd. Oh, my goodness. Oh, there's Miss Ham 37. Hello. And hi, Kyle Wolf.
How are things in Sarasota? And over in Phoenix, I'm sure it's still very hot over that way. Guys, this originally started off a little bit different that we were going to do from just like some channeled information that Cindy got. But then, saw a couple of things that made us think of the Emerald Tablets. Cindy brought it up as she has in the past. And Rich Taylor from New Brunswick. Micah, good to see you as well. Mr. Floyd, Akasha, Ronell, Hunky Kong, welcome aboard. DJ 57 over in Colorado. Brenda Murray, Misty Ann 34.
It's great to see you guys. Yeah, as soon as we start setting this video up, it was really strange. I guess we were on live, then we were off, and then we were on and we were off, and couldn't really make stuff work right, and really weird. And I strongly believe it is definitely because of the material we cover. There's some sort of system that can go in and read what we're about to show, and then it puts little glitches in there or something. It's crazy.
Well, life has been crazy and it's getting crazier. A lot of people are noticing differences. And as we're recording this, there's just a lot of entities around us. And so we're recording of our bat cave here, yes. Underground, undercover, underground. And, times are crazy. So we're looking at the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, I should say.
Yeah, there's some stuff in here. Now, I've heard that the Emerald Tablets were not legit. They're legit, not legit, legit. Apparently, the coding on them is like indestructible. It's something that science can't even... Oh, thank you so much, third in line. We appreciate it so much. Thank you. But it's something that science can't quite figure out. What is it coded with? And, the alchemy knowledge of these people is just beyond what we are today, that's for sure.
It's fascinating stuff. And so I want to read to you guys a line, a few lines from it. And this is really great stuff. Okay, so it's talking about Atlantis and what happened in the past. So he says, "Speak I of ancient Atlantis, speak of the days of the kingdom of shadows. Speak of the coming of the children of shadows. Out of the great deep were they called by the wisdom of earthmen, called for the purpose of gaining greater power. Far in the past, before Atlantis existed, men there were who delved into darkness, using dark magic, calling up beings from the great deep below us. Forth they came into this cycle. Formless were they of another vibration," right? Formless of another vibration, existing unseen by the children of earthmen. Only through blood could they have formed being. Only through man could they live in the world. Interesting, right? In ages past, they were conquered by the masters. Now, when they're talking about the masters, we would call them the ascended masters, the rishis of the Vedic traditions as well, driven below to the place whence they came. But some were there who remained, hidden in spaces and planes unknown to man. Lived they in Atlantis as shadows, but at times they appeared among men. Aye, when the blood was offered, forth came they to dwell among men. In the form of man moved they amongst us, but only to sight were they as men. Serpent-headed when the glamour was lifted, but appearing to man as men among men. Crept they into councils, taking forms that were like unto men, slaying by their arts the chiefs of the kingdoms, taking their form and ruling over man. Only by magic could they be discovered, only by sound could their faces be seen. Sought they from the kingdom of shadows to destroy man and rule in his place. But know ye, the masters were mighty in magic, able to lift the veil from the face of the serpent, able to send him back to his place. Came they to man and taught him the secret, the word that only a man can pronounce. Swift then they lift the veil from the serpent, and cast him forth from place among men. Yet beware, the serpent still liveth in a place that is open at times to the world. Unseen they walk among thee in places where the rites have been said. Again, as time passes onward, they shall take the semblance of men. Called may they be by the master who knows the white or the black, but only the white master may control and bind them while in the flesh. Seek not the kingdom of shadows, for evil will surely appear. For only the master of brightness shall conquer the shadow of fear. Know ye, O my brother, that fear is an obstacle great. Be master of all in the brightness. The shadows shall soon disappear. Hear ye and heed my wisdom. The voice of light is clear. Seek not the valley of shadow, and light only will appear. So this is really great stuff. It's interdimensional. That's what we're talking about, interdimensional beings here.
Interdimensional beings that can work through man, which is really creepy, that they can kind of inhabit the bodies, and all we think we see another human being, but it's only in the vibration can they hold that form. And we really strongly believe now the vibration is changing, and it's making it more difficult for these beings to be among us.
Yeah, the veil is most definitely lifting. And, I want to show you guys this. So, look at this. This is Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. And she's glitching the whole time in this video. So the thing I want to point out is, look, if this is just a feed issue, look at the photos. They're perfect. They're not distorted. It's only her that's distorted. The photos in the background are not distorted at all. It's pretty crazy. We got some strange sounds going here ourselves, guys. So it's really wild to see this. And so, I had to look at a couple of different videos to see if it really was not just one person playing Photoshop with something, but, this is from CNN. So this is the actual CNN channel. And then here, this is out of CNN.com videos. This is a shorter part of it. And again, the glitchiness comes. Now here they did shorten it so that there's not as much glitchiness, but she still does change and distort. So I'll have both the links for you. But let's just play a little of this.
So now I'm in mommy mode trying to figure out what this means. I was trying to fix something to eat for one of my kids, and he's like, don't touch my food. And so, so I just got to figure that out. My kids.
Again, notice the pictures in the background.
Heard that we were positive, so I probably won't see them for the next 14 days. Everybody's yelling across the house. So that's that's the other side of this. I'm mayor, but I'm also a mom and a wife. So I've got to wrap my brain around what exactly this means and how do I keep all of my the rest of my kids safe from people.
If you didn't identify with the priorities of people and their families, they wouldn't have elected you in the first place. It's always family first, and you're going to have to take care of that. Let me get a quick take from you as somebody who's dealing with both of these issues. The pandemic and the poison in our society is systemic racism. What is your response to the president saying, here's the good news, Mayor, 99% of the cases are harmless, and Confederate flag, I have no position.
Chris, I try not to give any energy to him because it is energy that I will never get back. That being said, each time he opens his mouth, he reminds us of how bad he is for this country. This is the reason that we all need to show up and vote in November. This man is dangerous. This virus is spreading across this country, and he refuses to do anything on behalf of the nation to make it stop. He is a danger to all of us.
And again, look at the background.
Do with party affiliation.
Wow. You know, I mean, seriously, what do you guys make of that?
Yeah, I mean, and it happens often, and it seems to be getting worse. And of course, you might think that, oh yeah, it's just a feed glitch. But then, yeah, you know, you look at everything else in the background, everything else seems okay. So what do you would make of it? I don't know. And then you think about the emerald tablets, and what did it just say?
Yeah, I mean, this is what they are. They can overshadow. And so she might have been born typical of certain bloodlines, probably, that usually make them easier to be accepted, you know, as a host for these entities, because that's what they are. And she's not the only one, you know, but that was just, wow, I can't, you know, something must be changing for them to not be able to hold that form like that. And, you know, but then that's what it says in the Emerald Tablets, as we see.
Something different from him is like insanity. And I just refuse to keep giving him that energy. I'm going to put my energy into...
If it was the feed, all the pictures in the background would be distorted too, and they're not.
Health first. Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, thank you, especially getting this kind of news to come on and let the audience know how it is for you. I appreciate it very, very much. I'll keep you on when I go into the commercial. I'll make sure you have my phone number so you can reach me if there's anything I can do. God bless you and the family. I hope you get through it very quickly.
Wow, guys. You know, that was some really wild stuff there. And it was weird because it's glitching really the whole time, even from the beginning, but it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. So it's 9 minutes, 22 seconds long the whole way. And again, this is a much shorter clip, 1:39, that they've trimmed out a lot of the distortion. But the distortion is right there in the original. That's pretty impressed. Yeah, he did look concerned, Truth or Nothing says. Yeah, I think he was catching it. And at one point... I think it was maybe like third eye related. I would not be surprised if he was one too, because I thought I saw him change a little bit.
Well, you know, I mean, I don't want to down anybody, but it does seem like the ones who are in positions where they want to have power and control, it seems like those are hosts and people who want like serious recognition, and they kind of prey on the ego, it seems.
So, you know, this is why, you know, one of the things we were going to talk about was how they quietly get us to consent. So when we vote, right, and we vote for them, whoever they are, and they could be both, you know, they could be both your Democratic and Republican, you know, choice to pick from. Both of them could be controlled just like she is being controlled and overshadowed. So either way, whichever side you pick, you're picking one of the Draco. You're picking one of the reptilian.
Right. Right, and because they want power, they want control. So which side wants power and control? Both. So that, to me, that's feeding, if you've ever heard that Native American story about the good wolf and the bad wolf, to me, if you vote, you're feeding the bad wolf, period.
Yeah, and it is, there's been a lot of cases like this where we've seen that. And then we could just look at their actions, as we've talked about so many times. And where we're talking about blood types, the negative, not having the rhesus gene is a trait that is thought to be of extraterrestrial origins. But the reality is there's a lot of extraterrestrial origins here on the planet. And then there always has been. And that's part of what we also were getting as well. So from some of our other channelings. And just in case you guys didn't see this, watch this.
On Friday, I started there early for voting, the day that we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. 10 states, as I said, on Friday. I started there early for voting, the day that we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
What was that? Was that just, I saw people on Twitter saying, oh, that was just, she was avoiding a question, so she was just restating herself. Other people saying she was just reading a teleprompter, and maybe the teleprompter said the same thing twice. And then there's people that think she's losing her mind or she's lost her mind a long time ago. Some were saying, oh, she's a clone. She's not even human. But we've seen a lot of glitches with Nancy Pelosi. But we've seen others too.
Yeah, I don't think we're dealing with one Nancy Pelosi. And the same with the others. I do believe they all have different kinds of clones. But with her, I don't know, to me it was like she just went back to the next most rational thing to say because she glitched. That's what I got out of that.
And, there's been Biden glitches too. And again, we're not just picking on the Democrats. You have it on the right as well. We have the Bushes coming straight out talking about the NWO. There's been many pictures of Papa Bush's eyes looking awfully snake-like as well. So, yeah, who said that? Zealot Now Chosen. That was controlled puppet talking now. I think it's getting more obvious, that these are just puppets. They're all puppets. And we've been getting tricked into giving our powers away. Now, Biden said recently, he was talking about CV, and he said that by the time he's done talking, there's going to be like 200 million that are going to be lost, which those aren't, anywhere close to the right numbers. 200 million, so, the Trump side was running with that and saying, see how senile he is. And President Trump actually came out and said he's probably taking some sort of medicines because all of a sudden he gets good, very coherent, and impactful when he's doing his speeches, but other times he's just a stumbling, bumbling mess. And I go back to Hitler, because as I said before, I've read so much of World War II history because my mom was like a massive historian, especially when it came to World War II, when she grew up. So, I've studied it inside and out and looked at some of the occult aspects in great detail. And Hitler was overshadowed. He was definitely controlled by the same influences again, because he would just totally change. He would seem like a wimpy little man. How could this guy be possibly, stirring up so much emotions and doing the things he is? Well, it's because when he gets on stage, you could view it as he's possessed. And it's not him anymore.
Yeah, they go through human beings. So, And a lot of them, I don't even think that they know they're being controlled. They just have these uncontrollable urges about them, these needs to be seen and heard, and they can't even really help it. But in a way, it's just part of their nature. I kind of feel bad for them, but you can't, I guess. It's like, it's just one of those things in life where you have to steer clear of that.
I'll definitely check into those codes. I see people are talking about pyramid code that was released. I haven't checked into that really. So there's always new stuff to go into. Always new stuff to go into. So White Dragon says his voice changes, the morphing. They do that on a regular basis. They do that on a regular basis, and it's happened before where they try to overshadow our voices too.
They do, and they do control people out of fear, and it's just a very nasty thing that's been going on for many, many, many millennia, and now's our chance to kind of break out of it. Those that are awake, we're kind of talking about the systems that they use to divide people with, and and to poison people with, and how we think we know what's going on because of the information that's been fed to us. We just assume that we know what's going on. A lot of people, it's their education that keeps them from, looking elsewhere into different information.
So when we were doing our channeling today, we were talking, I asked Cindy about pre-Enlil Enki, pre-Anunnaki, what was here? What really was here on the planet? And again, what we have gotten is that these beings, the Enlil Enki, and what we would call the Anunnaki, are basically beings that are under, again, the Draco influence and the Draco Empire, we could say. As we know, the Sumerian stories talk about them, quote-unquote, creating humans and using humans as slaves. And we have depictions of that from many different ancient Sumerian and Akkadian sources. As you could see here, depicting the gods as probably like 12 feet tall or so. And humans are all chained together in slavery, and that's the whole system that we have, came from them. We see all these depictions in, not just in the Babylonian area, not just in the Middle East, but also in Mesoamerica, the same sort of figures. These, there's so many different ones that are reptilian and also what we might take as draconian. So as we look at this, we see Origin Alpha Draconis, they're master geneticists, always creating new slave races. That's where a lot of the grays come from. They're actually coming from human DNA, from humans that are taken. And there's millions of people that go missing and are never seen again every single year. So it says their lifespan's 1,000 Earth years, cigar-shaped, like Oumuamua. So, again, that's what their craft is, usually cigar-shaped or circular. And so, not really nice beings. They are all in service to self, and they control through the powers that be. So these powers that be are totally being controlled by them. So then how could we trust all these big institutions? Of course we can't trust them.
Even some information coming out now, I mean, we all really have to question your heart. And think for yourself. That's the lesson here. Think for yourself. There's so much information coming at us right now. And it needs to be filtered. Discernment is such an important tool right now. When you see something and it's not quite right, just stand back and look at that discernment for a little bit.
Most definitely discern. Now, what's going to happen, because we've seen there's everything is telegraphed. They let us know everything ahead of time. So of course we have the Democrats saying the Republicans can't be trusted with the election and vice versa. And, Trump won't leave. And then, Biden saying his stuff. These people are under the control. And really what they want to do is just have us fight each other. Look, they're united. Who knows what they could do? We can't have that. We got to keep them confused. We got to keep them separated. We got to keep them,
disagreeing with each other. Keep them frustrated with each other. Disagreement, frustration. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. It's my way, it's my way, it's my way. It's really frustrating.
Well, yeah. And then also they have to keep us from achieving Kundalini activation and awakening a third eye, because then we see them for what they are. Then we could perceive them when normally they go about without, us perceiving them. But those that are awakening or awakened can clearly see through what's going on. It's just so obvious. It's just so obvious. It's right there. Right there in front of our eyes, the control grid. So, you could look at it like these top politicians sold their soul to the devil, because, the devil truly is the Draco race. That's what we're talking about. That's the real Satan and the devil, who's actually giving us ideologies and, philosophies that are always going to keep us from uniting and keep us separate. And, of course, the whole political system, which is all about infighting, left versus right. Pick a side. That's all they want. Pick a side. They don't care what side you take. They just want you to take a side. And, their plan is to basically, because they're going to lose their grip on us. They're already losing their grip. We see, they're glitching. They're glitching. You're not going to be able to hide anymore. It's just the bottom line. You can't hide, so we could see what they're doing. And so, the next thing then is to do what they did before, send us back to the Stone Age, get the numbers of the people down, make it a little bit more controllable, and then force them to take this, force them to take that. That's going to alter their consciousness and their DNA. And then, they'll just keep doing their GMO dance with people. Because that's what they've been doing. They bring us down into a vibrational state where they could control us. Because really what we got was that humanity was not as it's portrayed through our public school system, right, and our institutions and our colleges. Humanity wasn't, dumb savages. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. In many ways, way more advanced spiritually, way more advanced than what we are now. So everything has been, it's an inversion in so many ways. Everything has been almost completely reversed. They make you afraid to develop your intuition and your psychic abilities, because you might be called a witch. You might be, in league with the devil, and we're going to have to burn you because this one has a awakened third eye. And that has gone on. The persecution of many different populations of people, indigenous people across the planet, has gone on as they've tried to eliminate those genetic lineages that they can't control, and just try to propagate the ones that are easier for them to come in and take over.
So it's like whenever you get information out there, we don't always know, is that controlled opposition? Is this information, are they taking the reins because they know we're waking up, so they're going to give us a different idea of what's going on and keep us looking on the outside for answers, when really, the meditation, the mantras, the going within, the silence, growing your light is the most important thing that we need to be doing right now, and connecting with the earth. When I was looking back to see what other races were like, they were very connected to the earth. They were very much one with the earth, very shamanic. They understood how to work things in the ether and how things worked in 3D, and it was very harmonious. It's not what we've been taught.
No, Cindy was getting, that was very much like a heaven on earth.
Yes.
Very peaceful. Everybody not destroying everything and not always at war with each other, but much more dedicated to serving the greater whole. And so going back towards that unity consciousness now, we're going to go out of the area where they could still affect us. But again, they will try to do another reset. They will try to wipe it all clean, and they will try to keep as many people into the 3D realm as possible. So, we got to wake up and not do their dirty work that they want us to do. So, right now there's rumors. If you guys caught David Wilcock's last one, he broke down crying like you couldn't imagine he was crying so much. And there might be more reasons for him crying as well, because anybody that does these type of things, anybody that starts to shed light on the truth, you become a target. And then sometimes, there's threats and things. It could be that type of situation going on with him right now. And then some people will also come to the fame and to the money and the riches and all that. And they'll go that route, and that's how they get under control. But he was basically talking about intel that's talking about soldiers being brought in undercover right now, and about how they're going to try to stop the vote and everybody must get out and vote. Yeah. But really, if you think about it, if both parties are under the control of these negative beings, voting one way or another, you're acquiescing, you're giving your power away to them. What we need to do is we need to say we don't buy the system. We don't believe the system is for our benefit. And we have to start coming together in small groups as best we can, and work locally and work to get out of the system as we keep exposing the system for what it is, until we reach a critical point where close enough to a majority or a slight majority of the people are awake, and then the whole system will absolutely crumble and it'll be gone. And it's going to crumble. It's coming down. It's just a matter of why would we enable their plan to come to fruition. So what they're going to do is, they want to have the left and the right create a civil war number 2, and then open the door for, a Red Dawn scenario. This is really clear and obvious, and I've been seeing this for 35 years now. I've seen it in meditation and in visions. So we're very close, and, they're going to use the election as a trigger.
Yeah, that's what I've been feeling too. The election is the time where you need to be stable and have some backup, have some friends, bond wherever you're at with certain people, and just kind of be ready for a little bit of a bumpy ride. And it seems like it is going to get pretty bumpy. And, the most important thing, instead of looking outside of yourself for the answers, definitely always listen to your heart, go within, and find the answers there.
Yes. And so, when they try to paint the ancient humans as being almost more just ape or monkey-like, it's not really the case. They were much more advanced than where we are spiritually, for sure. And technology is not to be really put up above the spirituality, because it's all about where we're vibrating and resonating at. That's what's going to, quote unquote, save us, is how high a vibrational state can you hold. The other thing that war does is war damages souls. It damages souls. It creates conditions in which so many people end up getting trapped in kind of limbo. It just really is. It's a horrible act. So what are they going to try to do? Well, they're going to try to keep as many people in a 3D experience as possible. And so, if this planet is ascending and is going to leave the 3D realm, you want to ascend as well. Ascension is the most important thing, and that's just done through keeping our vibrations high and not being pulled down into the lower emotional states. And obviously, taking to the streets and being ready to harm another person is going to bring you into a lower vibrational state.
It will, definitely. And, PTSD is no joke. It's very serious, and it should be handled with great care. And, mindful meditation can really help. There's certain plant medicines that can really help, but it kind of puts someone in a state of fear where they're, if you get triggered, you just go down this road of fear and you can't stop it. It's like this a snowball effect where things just keep getting worse and worse and worse, and it's extremely difficult to stop. And I think that was done very much on purpose, and you don't need to be like in the military to have something like that happen to you. It happens in domestic violent relationships all across the country, all over the world, and I think they knew that when they started to kind of make humanity crumble with families and hurting moms and dads, and that ultimately hurts children too.
It is. So again, don't be pulled into the conflict. Do not be pulled into the drama. Don't lower your vibrations. And what's going to happen is eventually, those people that are going to survive these times are going to go back to more of a tribal existence in pockets, and just working together in small communities, and much more in harmony with nature. So that's something we should be cultivating right now. And as if we have 40-something days till election, it's a matter of getting yourself prepared, because there's a lot of talk of 3 days of darkness, and with the likelihood of we have two big possibilities, really. We do have an EMP as a big possibility. There's been so much information leaked out about that. There's been so many, congressional inquiries into it, presidential inquiries into it, and military insight into how bad can it be and how disruptive. And as we've said, they've even had reports that say 90% of people won't make it if we don't have our power grid. Because we're so disconnected from nature right now, we're so dependent on technology. And, if you go back like 150 years, most people grew a big chunk of their own food. And we don't anymore. And then we also have all the weather disasters going on right now. And we do know so many declassified documents there. Also talking about, altering the weather, controlling the weather, owning the weather. So, what is real and what is manufactured, it's very hard to say, but we do have a solar cycle going on at the same time, a solar minimum, grand solar minimum, that is also causing the magnetosphere to go into decline. So the shields are down, Captain, and even a smaller CME can affect us much more. But at the same time, we've also gotten that these energetic blasts from the sun are going to actually change our DNA in a positive way and help us with the ascension, as the sun is a transmitter of light, which is information. Light is information, and information leads to gnosis, or knowing, and discovery, true discovery. And we could look into the Gnostic texts that were all destroyed by Constantine and his group there in order to maintain control and power. And the Gnostic texts talk about the fact that source, is in every one of us. And as the persona of Jesus says, you will do greater things than I. But he also said the Father and I are one. So how could that possibly be? Is that like, what is the sound of one hand clapping? Is that something that's impossible to answer? Well, no, when you recognize that God lies within all of God's creations, every single one of us. But they don't want us knowing that we have ability and power. So they try to, give us ideologies that put us down, keep us in fear, and keep us hating and working against each other.
Definitely. And I do believe that the sun rays on their own, are going to help raise our vibration and change us, change our very beings. And I think that there's certain words that I can't say, but there's things that the other party is doing to try to stop that. So I think on our very own, just being out in our sunlight helps to raise our vibration and change us in a way where we will be leveling up and being able to do different things. And it's not even so much what you can do as far as gifts and abilities it's about growing your own light within so that you can be a very strong individual and a strong spoke on that wheel. There's like a hub to a wheel, and there's many spokes, and the stronger each one of those spokes are, the better that wheel is going to turn. So in a way, it's important that we work on ourselves so we can make a stronger individual presence and move higher together.
So, yeah, earlier I saw Becca made a comment too when we were talking about when this plague first came out. And what Cindy got was it's kind of like an entity. It's an entity. So, I mean, just think about this. This is, and well, what are these Draco? They're kind of like entities because most of them are not 3D. They can only get into the 3D plane by inhabiting a host. So, you could kind of view it as, it's a super parasite out there.
Yeah. That's what came through. Energetic parasite through channeling. Definitely, that's what came through. And I do believe the sun is a really good way to get that off of you. There are ways, I know it might sound strange, but detoxing, super, super important right now. If I have this little sauna at home, it's just a home sauna and it didn't cost very much, but it does make me sweat and it does detox me. Distilled water is another way to detox. A little slice of lemon in your water helps things work better, and maybe a little pinch of aluminum-free baking soda, keywords aluminum-free, can help your body get rid of more and more of these toxins, so it'll help you raise your vibration.
So you're going to be seeing things that are going to definitely be tweaking our emotions and trying to get us to take a side. So we must remain centered. We must stay at peace in our heart, even when things are going crazy. I had seen a vision of, basically, it was very, very much kind of like a World War II scenario, what happened in World War II, but it was in these times that we're coming up into. And I saw 3 young men that were rounded up, and I don't know if it was Chinese troops or who it was, troops-wise, but they were just executing people. And the 3 young men started to just laugh and dance and sing, and then they were executed. And then I said that to Cindy when I came out of it, and you remember what you said?
Yeah, that time I do remember. They were raising their vibration before they die, which is extremely important.
Right. Because, if you go through a trauma, that can be something, it could actually carry on into the next world.
Right.
So, and that's what happens with a lot of what we call hauntings and ghosts and the like. It's something so traumatic that it inhibits them from going back into a normal cycle, and taking their time on the other side and processing, learning what they have to, still work on, and then either coming back, whatever their karma is, as well as their choice. It could keep you from doing that, and it could keep you in a state of entrapment. And that's what they're going to try to do too now, because they're going to try to create so much just havoc and war and bloodshed and terror. And there are people that are very, very susceptible to being taken over. And there's certain things that we may ingest if we, allow those things into our system. And it's not the natural stuff. It's the stuff that's manufactured. It's the stuff that there's a huge mega conglomerate pumping this stuff out. And it's perfectly acceptable in today's society. But it also will perfectly leave you wide open for influence from these dark beings.
It does, and there's just so many things that leave us open for influence, and but we do have tools and ways now to kind of level the playing field. We understand a little bit better, and but the DNA is affected. It's called DNA memory through the ancestral line, where if there's traumas in the ancestral line, that can be brought to the next person and the next person and the next person on down the line. And it's kind of like if you're, I don't know, it's so hard to explain. If you're rolling like a taco and say even a pebble falls in that taco and you continue to roll it, that bump is always going to be there. It's always going to have problems. So when you're getting information in, it's not going directly like it should. It's having to go a roundabout way, which makes you act different. which can change your behavior, and it can disconnect you a little bit from your higher self or your oversoul.
So again, so often we've been given these paradigms and you're being taught to choose. Which is it? Are they aliens or are they demons? Well, there's aliens, extraterrestrials, beings that don't come from 3D Earth. They come from other 3D planets. And then there's interdimensionals that have the ability to shapeshift and to change their vibration. There's some that can actually, take over and start to influence 3D beings that might exist on 4D or even a 5D realm. And so we have interdimensionals, we have extraterrestrials, we do have definitely demonic entities. I mean, that's probably the best way to describe them, is that they're dark, nasty, horrible things. And then we also have angelic energies and beings as well, of a very, very high degree. And again, the angelic realm or the Devic realm spans so many different densities, down from 1D to, we don't even know how high it goes, really. But they're just part of the overall matrix, when you get down to it. So it's not a either or, it's both. There's both. There's both going on. And so that explains a lot of things, so that a lot of people have been taught you got to choose one way or another, and so not all the extraterrestrial influence on the planet is of a 3D nature. There's definitely influence from higher densities that have been on this planet. So when we look at entities like the Anunnaki, they're under the control of a density higher being, the Draco, which typically are up a little bit higher than where these actual 3D beings are. And that ship, Uamuamua, that scout ship, and that's actually what it means in Hawaiian, scout. Interesting that they lay it out there like that, and they just tell us. So, there really are, and there could be, other 3D entities coming this way as well. But still, when you get down to it, it's under that mostly 4D, and some say the Draco even exists on 5D. They can't go any higher. But ultimately, they're still controlling these beings. Like the Nordic, quote-unquote, aliens that were helping the Nazis, again, were under their control. And of course, the little grays that we've seen, and there's a wide variety of them, some of them are not even biological, others are kind of like the Borg. They're part biological and part AI. And really, that's what they would like to ultimately do to humanity, is make us part biological, part AI, but totally under control.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the key word is control. So if they control, even the sunlight, if they control, what do seeds need to sprout? They need like certain soil and the sunlight. Well, if they can control the sunlight and control how the seeds are made, they can control the food, which is ultimately controlling us until we can get to a high enough vibration where food is an option. We are subject to being controlled. And another thing that keeps coming through over and over and over, and I know some people aren't going to like it, but it's the sugar, it's the preservatives keep you under a spell that keeps you controlled. And the galactics keep just coming through saying you need to talk to them about that, and because it is quite frustrating how and it's very difficult to get the healthier food, have time to cook it. And notice that that's all done by design. It's all done by design to keep us asleep. With the sugar and the preservatives creating so much inflammation, the weakest part of your body is going to get inflamed, and you might think that you actually need a doctor. Say you're having migraines and you ate a muffin, the other day, and that's still kind of detoxing out of your body, give you a migraine, then you think you need to go to the doctor for a shot. And it's like a racket. It's just a constant racket that they keep putting us through.
Yeah, this is not their first rodeo. So, I mean, they've done this so many cycles, and, the line of thinking is this is the last go. This is the last cycle for many, as, 3D incarnation on the earth may not be even possible because Earth is going to ascend. So you'll have to incarnate on other planets in a 3D realm. And if we look at the law of one, for instance, then it says you're in for a very long period of reincarnation again. It's like, having to go all the way back to kindergarten, after like getting up to being a senior ready to graduate, and now you're back in kindergarten again. So it's so imperative for us to keep our vibe high. That's the most important thing.
It is, but at the same time, though, everybody's at a different part on their path. So I don't want anyone to feel like, you're doing anything wrong, because maybe that might have needed to happen for you to go back. Maybe you volunteered to do that to pull more people back up for the next time too.
Well, this gets into another discussion we were having on quote-unquote fallen angels.
Yes.
Because there are beings that are here that are not, they've already gone to a higher level. We could view them as ascended masters and starseeds and the like, and they're here to help. There's millions of beings really that are here right now to help pull people up and to spread the positivity and the teachings. But also, first you got to do, I saw a comment there about the Great Wizard of Oz. I mean, are people going to recognize the Great Wizard of Oz for what he is if you never pull the curtain? You got to pull the curtain and say, look what it is.
That's very difficult to do. It's like facing all of your fears. It's facing everything that you think but at the same time, to do that is probably the most important thing you can do for your soul, for your higher self, for your oversoul, for your ancestral lineage. It's difficult, but it's important.
So we want to thank all you guys for joining us. Make sure that you are subscribed and have clicked the bell to both channels. And we want to thank everybody that's supporting us on Patreon and Ko-Fi as well. We love you guys. We're, at that point where it's go time. It's go time. This is going to be the great test for everyone. And, we still have 40-something days to maybe do a little more prep. But I would also expect there'll be different events happening and certain escalations here and there. So stay grounded, stay rooted, and again, prioritize your spiritual practice as well as, stocking up your food and, saving seeds, growing things, talking to your neighbors, creating a community.
Definitely. Okay, fine, Grizz. Rawr!
So we love you guys. God bless.